it's me die. Rely on yourself in no way. Believe.
Happy Friday, everybody. Happy Friday. Um, man. Okay. So, before we get going at all, um, normally, normally I do not and probably ought not address certain things, but it is pivotal sometimes to um, address certain things. It is needed, and that is the case today. Um, the video we did yesterday, the show we had yesterday, um, about well, not yesterday, the day before, about the rapture. Um, Triggered a lot of people, including the indoctrinated and the weak-minded and the simpletons of the world, and the ones who believe that because they have um, studied the end of times, that makes it the be all and end all of the journey we call life, and that is the reason why everyone should be concerned about anything is because of end times, and everything hinges on end times. And those kinds of people ignore current time, and they ignore things you say directly, even though they say that they're addressing the things you say. One such individual um, goes by the name of Good Cheer John 1633. Um, Came onto the thread to tell me that I was being deceitful, um, because I'm not giving credence to the end times, and that I'm saying that the end times is not um, salvation related. Now, I know lots of you were in that conversation. You were in the live. Um, and I know most of you have the intelligence enough to listen properly, concisely, clearly. Um, this individual, however, did not seem to possess that kind of mental fortitude. He professes to be a expert in all things end times, and thinks that what I was saying is off kilter. So before we go any further, I want to address it so people are clear about my stance and people understand what I said that day. His first was the rapture doesn't align with anything written in scripture, and I'm pretty sure that I directly said it is not written and said anywhere directly in the scriptures the word rapture. And many of you remember that, me saying it at the very onset, that the word rapture does not appear. I'm pretty sure you guys remember me saying those exact words. Okay. And is only offered through the mouths of men. Christ warns, take heed that no man deceive you. Apparently that's me. And then he directly tells us he comes after the tribulation. Don't care. No scripture even remotely states that he comes prior. Still, don't care. Never said that he did. Never said that he didn't. Don't care. Paul warns us. What warns of those who teach our gathering unto him is at hand. Didn't say that either. Um, Without man of perdition revealed first. Don't care. Peter tells us that the Christ comes as a thief in the night. I said that. And the heavens are destroyed with a great noise. Don't care. Thus eliminating a rapture 7 years prior. Don't care. That would create a countdown to when the heavens are destroyed with a great noise. Don't care. Peter then goes on to state that wicked men twist Paul's teaching on this matter, as they do all scripture. I'm assuming that's me, and then calls them wicked, me again, and tells us to not to fall, um, not to fall, form our own steadiness, steadfastness. Amazing. Scripture warns us that those who teach rapture, neither does it offer one. Never said any of the sort. You see, this is a problem with people that when they listen to what they want to hear and assume that you're going to say because they see a title, and their moronic behavior in their life normally dictates a lot of their living, and hence their listening as well. This guy is really does not. He says I'm listening to the whole thing. Obviously, didn't listen. He did not listen, like at all. So at the end of it, I ask him, "What exactly is my deceitfulness?" In your video, you state that you believe that in your view of eschatology does not have any bearing on salvation. It does not. It does not. It has zero bearing on salvation. Salvation may have bearing on the end times, but the end times has no bearing on salvation. Salvation is done long before the end times. I I don't know how else to clear that up for people. All the while referencing 10 versions. Here again, you're showing that I listened to the whole, you listen to the 10 version part. That doesn't mean you listen to the whole video. In the parable 10 version, the foolish half that were watching were told, I know you not. And if you were listening, I said exactly that. By God himself, I said exactly that. If you cannot comprehend that it's that to be a salvation issue, you may be in their camp. So you see, folks? And here goes Mr. Seminary with Greek verb, uh, the rapture and Paul and unlearned individuals. But when I call him slow, that's an insult. When I call him mentally slow and moronic, that's the insult. But you calling me wicked, evil, deceitful, that's not, that's fine. That's completely okay. Now, the reason I went through all of that is to say this. What I'm going to say in this particular video will require people to listen. I understand that some may not be able to do that because they have no concept of what listening means. They simply don't. And that's not a me problem, that's a you problem, John. That's a you problem. And you seem to have quite a few problems, including some mental ones I think you should get addressed. Okay? I really think you should seek some help for that. So, with that being said, Saul. For those of you who know Saul, Saul was an interesting character. Um, the kind of thing that trips me out about Saul is the fact that he was handpicked, right? Samuel blessed him. He became king. He went through, did really well for a long time, following the words of the Lord. And then something happened to Saul. Saul became quite discontented with his position, it seems. And in chapter 26, no, it's not 26, sorry, in 15 of 1 Samuel, this happens. Samuel told Saul, the Lord sent me to anoint you king over his people, Israel. Now listen to the words of the Lord. This is what the Lord of the heavenly army says. I will punish Amalek for what he did to Israel when he set himself against Israel in the way as they are going up from Egypt. Now go and attack Amalek. completely destroy all that they have. Don't spare them, but put to death both man and woman, child and infant, ox, sheep, camel, and donkey. Pretty emphatic, pretty direct, pretty straightforward. Didn't seem to have any stuttering happening. The reason I'm going for the story of Saul is along these here, okay? For as often as Saul listened to the words of God and followed through, there came a time when God asked him to do something that he found contrary to what he wanted. And in that moment, he had to decide whether or not he would listen. And in this case, the commandment apparently seemed too much. So Saul summoned the people and he mustered them to Telaim, 200,000 foot soldiers and 10,000 men from Judah. Saul came to the city of Amalek and set an ambush in the valley. Saul told the Kenites, "Withdraw from the Amalekites so that so I don't destroy you with them. For you showed kindness to all the Israelites when they departed from Egypt." So the Kenites withdrew from the Amalekites. Saul attacked the Amalekites from Hivala to Shur, which is east of Egypt. He captured, listen carefully, he captured Agag, king of Amalek, but he completely destroyed all the people, executing them with the sword. Saul and the people spared Agag and the best of the sheep and cattle, the fattened animals and lambs, along with all that was, pivotal word here, good. They were not willingly they were not willing to completely destroy them, but they did completely destroy everything that was worthless and inferior. Worthless and inferior, and kept what they considered good. Now, in your day to day work life, home life, school life, when he points out something that you need to get rid of, and he says it directly that that needs to go, and you look upon him and say, okay, but then you keep it because in your mind it's good, there is a problem here. Then you can call and say, well, I've followed you in every other area, just not this one. I should be fine. Remember the catch the little foxes thing, right? This is one of those episodes. This is one of those episodes. Do not spare them, but put to death both man, Agag was a man, woman, child, infant, ox, sheep, camel, donkey, everything, all of it. Whether you believe it's good or inferior, destroy all of them. People are going to get hung up on this part right here, child and infant. They're going to say, the Lord commanded the death of children. If you have a problem with that, take it up with God. Take it up with God. Scream at him. Cuss him out. Go ahead. Have at it. Have at it. That's dead serious. Go ham. Tell God exactly how you feel about that command. I guarantee you that he is more than willing to listen to you. Go ahead. As for me, though, if you say do it, it ain't a matter of how I feel about it. It's a matter of doing it. And Saul did not. He considered the things that God considered worth destroying as good. This message came from the Lord to Samuel. I regret that I made Saul king because he has turned away from from following me and has not carried out my commands. Samuel was angry and he cried to the Lord all night. Samuel got up early in the morning to meet Saul, but Samuel was told Saul went up to Carmel to set up a monument to himself. Then he turned around and traveled to Gilgal. Samuel approached Saul. May the Lord bless you, Saul said. I've carried out the Lord's command. What do you notice as the similarities between what Saul did and what Eve and Adam did? What do you think is a similarity between Saul and Adam and Eve? Aside from the disobedience, what was the one thing that they both had in common at that point after the disobedience? They both acted as though they were absolved of all responsibility. They both did. Adam and Eve by blaming another person, and Saul by lying, both absolving themselves of all responsibility of their actions that they did. But that all started at the onset of entertaining a thought process contrary to what they were told to do. They both went against the commandment that they were given, and they both decided for themselves to do the opposite. They entertained the idea and followed through with the idea, and then decided to not accept responsibility for their behavior. That was their very first action. I've carried out what the Lord commanded. No, you didn't. Samuel said, then what is this bleating of sheep in my ear and the lowing of cattle I hear? Saul replied, they brought them from the Amalekites. The people, watch, right? They brought them from, you see it now? They brought them from the Amalekites. The people spared the best of the people, not me, the people, spared the best of the sheep and cattle to offer sacrifices to the Lord your God. Do you see how quickly his tongue? It is no longer his God. The Lord your God. And the rest they completely destroyed. They, them. I didn't do that. I did what the Lord commanded. Now them, they did exactly what they did. That's them. That's that. That's not me. That's them. Besides, this is about your God, not mine. It's a, like, do you see how similar? When you entertain the voice and you disobey, the end result always is the same exact behavior. You never take responsibility for what you've done. It's built into the behavior. Disobedience is a built in result that comes forward. When you disobey a direct command, the very next thing you do is try to absolve yourself of consequence by saying either you didn't do it or someone else made you do it, but it's never you. Kids do this all the time. They do it all the time. Saul replied, Oh, let me get back to where I was here. Yes, be quiet, Samuel said. I'll tell you what the Lord told me last night. Saul told him, speak. You also become a little bit more cocky. So Samuel replied, it is not true. Is it not true that though you were small in your own eyes, you became head of the tribes of Israel, and the Lord anointed you king over Israel? The Lord sent you on a mission. Go and completely destroy the sinners, the Amalekites, and fight against them until they are destroyed. Why didn't you obey the Lord, but grabbed the spoil and did evil in the sight of the Lord? Saul told Samuel, I did obey the Lord. I did obey the Lord. I went on the mission on which the Lord sent me. I brought Agag, king of Amalek, and I completely destroyed the Amalekites. The people took some of the spoil, sheep, cattle, and the best of what was to be completely destroyed, to sacrifice to the Lord your God at Gilgal. You get called out, okay? You get called out for not obeying, and your first instinct is that I did exactly what you're talking. I did it all. Now, there are other people that they didn't do it, but I mean, I did exactly what you told me to do. It wasn't me. It was the woman you gave me. Heck, no, that wasn't me. It was the serpent. Samuel said, does the Lord delight in much burnt offering and sacrifice as in obeying? Hmm. Surely to obey is better than sacrifice. To pay attention is better than the fat of rams. Indeed, rebellion is the sin of divination, and arrogance is iniquity, or is, yes, iniquity and idolatry. Because you have rejected the message of the Lord, he has rejected you from being king. No matter what you do after the point of disobedience and want to consider it, I'm giving up this and I'm giving up that, but you don't want to admit to the fact that you disobeyed, all the sacrifice you offer after that point is inconsequential. To obey is better than sacrifice. Saul had a basic problem, and you'll see a lot of it today. You get fully yourself. David went through the same thing. Now, mind you, David did look. David went through the same stuff. Power corruptions happens. The massive difference between Saul and David was when David suffered his consequence of his lost child. He immediately turned right away. No more blaming, no more excuses. He turned. Not Saul. Not Saul. I don't care how much time you dedicate to the charity homes. I don't care how much time you give time at the food line, how many people's lawns you go and mow, how many light bulbs you help change. If you're disobedient, all that sacrificial time, people say, I'm a good person. I do this, 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 and this, and this. So to obey is better than sacrifice. So you sacrifice your time for people. Good for you. But he told you to turn from sin, right? He didn't do that. So don't give me all your works. I don't care about your works. Now, if your life being handed off to him yields your works, that's different. But your works are never going to replace obedience. It never will be a replacement for obedience. Understand that. Saul later went on to be replaced by David and also tried to kill David. His story ends rather tragically. It really does, but it also is a very good reminder to everybody the extent to which what we consider a small thing, disobedience, what it can do, where it can lead you, where it can take you. The value of listening is huge. It is huge. And when you don't, you run into problems. You run into problems. So how? How can we learn from Saul, from Adam? How can we learn from Eve? What is our process for learning about all of that? Because they happen for a reason. What can you learn about the children of Israel and their disobedience? All of them share a similar, very, very similar thing. What can we learn about Peter? If you don't submit to his will, your actions will be worthless. And not only that, you'll find yourself not even fulfilling the things he said to do. Because in your mind and in your heart, they are not that big a deal. Because what you consider good, that's what you'll do. What you consider trash, you will get rid of. Even though he tells you what's good. I've shown you, a man, what is good. He will tell you exactly what you're supposed to do, and you won't do it. You'll get mad. Why should I have to get rid of that? Why can't you just work with me on that? Give me time to get rid of that. I just need to hold on to it a little bit longer. Real world example. Are you dealing with drugs? Are you dealing with some sort of vice? If he tells you to be done with it, be rid of it, what's your answer to him? Help me get rid of it? Is that your answer to him? Or I'll try? Give me some time? Give me the strength to do it? Is that your answer? This is a legit question. Okay. When he's asked you to do stuff in the past, what is your typical answer to him? And do you actually walk through that answer? I dare say a lot of us don't, especially if it's a really severe vice. Give me the strength to do this. If it gets to the point where he asked you to do it, the strength's already there. Your willingness, however, maybe you're looking in the wrong place. Maybe it's not the strength to do it, but your willingness. They're two different things. You know full well you have the ability to quit something, but you don't want to because you like it too much. Just let's be honest about it. Be honest with yourself for just 1 second. The things we usually hold on to that we disobey about is because we want to keep them. And we'll find the excuse of, oh, it's too strong of a pull. Oh, it's too hard for me to let go of. Just be honest with yourself. You don't want to let it go. You like it. Look, it's you can be honest about it. If you like it, say you like it. Say you don't want to get rid of it. That is a much better starting point than saying I don't have the strength to do it. That's a cop out. Because what you're really saying is that God doesn't have the strength through you to get rid of anything, which obviously you know is a lie. Right? So you're telling the creator of the world that while you might say, I need to stop, just because you say I should stop does not make it happen automatically. Who do you think you are? God? Who do you think you are? God or something? To tell me to stop something I know it's a very difficult thing to do? Is it difficult? Is it though? Is it difficult? Is it really difficult though? If he says something's already done in him, shouldn't that mean that your gaze should be inward and not at the problem? Not how great the problem is, but how great he is. And that way you're not focused on the problem because he's already dealt with it. And the more you focus on the problem and saying how big the problem is, the bigger the problem becomes because your focus is wrong. You're giving attention to that voice. That's your first problem. You give it attention. You turned your face towards it. You like Peter, you took your eyes off of looking down at the water. That's his problem. He looked down at the water. He took his eyes off and looked down at the water. Did Jesus leave? No. Did Peter's ability to walk on the water depend on Peter? No. Peter's ability to walk on the water came as a direct result of keeping his eyes on. Exactly. It was a perspective thing for Peter. He walked on water just like Jesus did, even though it was literally impossible for him to do in and of himself. And he didn't have to ask Jesus to give me the strength to walk to you. He just said, tell me to come, and I'm coming. You just have to say the word, and I'm there. I'll follow exactly what you said. Okay, walk, coming. Then all of a sudden, oh my goodness, the waves. Oh my goodness, I'm on water. And you start to sink. It had zero to do with Peter and his ability. It had everything to do with Peter and his taking his eyes off of Jesus. The ability was never within him. The ability was all along with Jesus, which tells me that the journey you have when he tells you to go destroy one of your strongholds has zero to do with your ability to destroy the stronghold as it does to taking him to the stronghold and letting him destroy it. It's already gone. He just says, go, get rid of it. But then you get to the point, okay, let's take the more obvious. Um, that's probably the most problem for most people. Let's go because someone mentioned it. Cigarettes. You got cigarettes. And you know that he's calling you to get rid of the destructive nature of it and get rid of it. Be done with smoking. And so your idea of getting rid of smoking is to go get a 12-step program, um, cut down to two a day. Um, if you do 10, cut down to five a day, and you wean yourself off of it because that's still getting rid of it. No, that's keeping a couple of sheep, a couple of lions, a couple of this, a couple of, you're just keeping stuff. You're not fully getting rid of it. You're just kind of keeping some stuff because you're going to end up sacrificing it. Don't worry. And before too long, you find yourself in a stressful situation. And from five a day, you decide you add one more. And then the stress doesn't stop, and you add one more. So now you're back up to seven. You're only three off from your 10. You know you're less likely to say, I better cut those two out than you are to say, I'll just add the other three. I'm already doing seven. Whereas, if he says, be done, and you take whatever you have in your possession and burn it, not hide it, burn it. And if I know anything about it, is you take the rest of the cash that you have stashed away for more and use it, or reallocate it. That's getting rid of it. That's getting rid of it. He asked you to go. The battle is won, but when you get there, destroy everything, all semblance of that problem. Get rid of it. That's the command. Do it. Do it. To obey is better than sacrifice. What you consider, oh, I'm giving up five. Oh, that's a massive sacrifice. I'm really working hard to get my walk right. Whew, man, I'm really working hard. Oh, I'm down to like only two hits of drugs a day, man. I'm doing well. Come on. And you know. Let's just be honest about it, right? You always know when you're trying to be shady with God, right? You know it. You can at least be honest about this. We all know when we're trying to be, you know, with Him. Okay, God, I'll answer. I'll give you a little bit of it, but you know when you're doing that. Okay, let's just be honest. Okay, you know, no preacher has to come to you to tell you that you're being a little bit sneaky, right? Okay, if you can be honest about that, you'll be a lot better off. But don't make the excuse that I did when you didn't, or I can't because no, you just don't want to, and that's okay to admit because that is the first step of being able to come to grips with what you did. I'm not sure what you mean, Cindy. Clarify for me. You talking about this live or overall? I'm not sure what you're asking. Saul was a handpicked individual to be king first, and his utter ruin came not because he murdered some random person. It was Disobedience. He just didn't do what he was told. In a lot of minds, that would be a small sin. When do you think Cain's sin happened of murder? When do you think that happened? Do you remember what God told him? Sin is crouching at your door, waiting to have its way with you. You must take mastery over it. That was a warning to Cain that this is coming. You better. Little foxes again. Little foxes didn't listen, disobeyed, didn't listen, didn't master it. And eventually it played out. He gave ear, just like his mama did. He gave ear. He listened to it first. He paid attention to it. He paid attention to it. That's the biggest problem. Paid attention. Saul, same thing. Then you start blaming. Well, the people. see, I did exactly what you told me to do. See, that's the difference. I did exactly. Now, them people, man, look, they wanted to sacrifice to you. Remember, because you like sacrifices, so they decided to keep some of the stuff because it was good, the good stuff. I mean, they didn't keep it for themselves, but So there. How? Who am I to stop them from sacrificing? God, come on, man. I mean, I thought you liked sacrifices. Look what they're doing. They're sacrificing to you. We'll make all kinds of reasonings. To obey is better than sacrifice. 10 cigarettes down to 5 is a sacrifice. That's a sacrifice. No burger for one day or make it every other day is a sacrifice. Anything you decide to cut back on in your effort to get rid of is a sacrifice. It is not obeying. If he directly told you to be done and get rid of it, cutting back is not getting rid of it. We've been told for a long time that's how it's done. Just cut back until over time you're off of it. And then when you hear people say it was done right then and there, what do people say? Man, you're lucky. I had to fight to get rid of mine. I had to fight tooth and nail, and I kept asking God to help me get rid of, right? Are they lucky? Or did they finally realize that if he said it can be done, it can be done? If he say it's done, it's done. Right then and there, done. There's no battle, no fighting, no overtime. It's done. So let me ask you this in closing, okay? From what you know about God, is sacrificing intimacy with Him worth what you want? Is sacrificing intimacy with God worth keeping what you want? And if it is, well, you've answered your question, huh? So ask yourself that. Is it worth it? Catch the little foxes that ruin the vine. I have the schedule for next week, and these are the topics we'll be covering: uh, the serpent of brass, prophesying of the virgin birth, the dedication of the temple with Solomon, uh, the mark of the beast, and where is the Trinity in the Bible. Now, those last two are going to be really, yeah. I'm gonna tell you now. I'm gonna tell you now, and I'm sorry if this is gonna be. I'm not trying to run you off. Okay, I'm not trying to run you off. I really am not. But if you learned anything about being in the room, is that I will warn you before something happens. Right? I'm gonna I'm gonna warn you now. Okay, I'm gonna warn you now. Those last two are not gonna be more than likely what you think. Okay, I'll probably encounter more people like Mr. John, whatever stupid handle he had. Good cheer, John 16:33. That imbecile. That imbecile. So, in any case, looks like he might have deleted his comments. I just checked. The rapture pissed off a lot of people, and I understand that. And if that upset you, the mark of the beast will be even worse. Okay? The mark of the beast conversation will be even worse. Much less the Trinity thing. Okay, just understand me that when I talk about that one, don't get mad at me, because what I always tell people, and you should know this by now, if you have a problem with what I'm saying, who do you take it up with to verify or debunk? Who? Who do you do that with? Please, somebody tell me. No, no, Jezebel will be the following week. I have her planned. Who do I tell you to verify everything, whether good or ill, with, and don't take my word for anything? Who do I say that about? What do I tell you to do? Right? Go back to who? Okay, good, good. Take it back to the man, right? To the author. The author. I am simply here telling you what was expounded to me. You don't need to have to, and I'd prefer not to have you take just my word for it. If it resonates with something he's already talking to you about, that's fine. But everything we talk about here, take it back to the author. He left that door open for you. It's easy to talk to him about it. Take it to the author. Let no man teach you. I am simply here giving you things that I have gleaned from his word, that I have seen borne out to be true, that I have personally taken back to the author. However, I have taken it back to the author. The best way to get things confirmed is to take it to the person that sent the message. That's all. It really is. Besides, if you're with him all the time anyway, it'll either confirm or deny it right off the top. But if your first go to is to, you know, books, seminaries, you're probably off already. Okay, good. So, thank you guys for tuning in. Again, line up next week: Serpent of Brass, Prophecy of the Virgin Birth, the dedication of the temple under Solomon, the mark of the beast, and where is the Trinity in the Bible? Okay? All right. Remember the words I said, okay? Where is the Trinity in the Bible? Okay. Make sure you get my that title right, okay? Where's the Trinity in the Bible? Perfect. I'll be back later today around 2:30 Eastern for the journey. I have a journey today with Mitch Fowler. Yeah, I do sing, Brenda. I do. I do sing. My nephew. Oh, sorry. Yes, an update. So he has been in touch with a couple of things. They sent her back to school, and we are trying to see exactly what they can do. See what's happening. We're trying to get her into a facility to try and get her seen, evaluated. That's all still pending. Unlike up here, things move a little bit more slowly back home. So, just so you know, way slow, very slow, unfortunately slow. But like I said, with my mother's letter, he himself is also very grateful. Um, so he's doing okay. He's doing okay. Thank you guys for asking. Prayers are still greatly appreciated. So we'll talk again in about an hour plus, maybe 2 hours. And don't miss the interview. Don't miss it. It'll be a good one. Older gentleman. You know, those older gentlemen have a lot of story. He served during the Cold War. He served during the Cold War. Okay, so we'll talk about that too as part of his story. As I say, wisdom calls to you from the street, people. Please, 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 please find wisdom. Peace.
Hold tight the dreams, for if dreams die, rely on yourself.